Saria is one of my favorite characters in Arknights, and in addition to all the Ryan Labs content I've been covering recently, I felt that it was time to give this wonderful character a bit more direct focus. So, who is Saria? Saria is the former defense director at Ryan Labs. Now, she is a Rhodes Island operator and the divorced single mother. Obviously, that last bit is not so canon, but it is fan canon, which is all that matters in the end. But in all seriousness, Saria is a really cool character, and from what we've seen in the story of Arknights so far, it's a very serious and generally upstanding character. Like Columbia and Rhine Labs in general are shown to be very corrupt and immoral when it comes to a lot of their dealings. But Saria is not one of these people who gives into the easy path just because everyone else is doing it. She takes responsibility of pretty much everything she does, and she really doesn't take no for an answer. For example, when the defense sector thought they could tell Saria what to do, she put them all in their place personally. She didn't delegate that task, she simply showed them that she was not going to take any disrespect. In addition to this, when others fear or hate the infected, Saria has absolutely no fear or even prejudice against the infected. She, as someone who's very scientifically knowledgeable, recognizes all the ways in which the infected are just unfortunately sick people, and even reprimands other Rhine Labs staff members for their bigoted and ill-thought-out views, even forcing them to tell her how infection is transmitted, just to show how stupid these characters are being. In addition to that, Saria takes on all the responsibility for righting the wrongs of Rhine Labs, even doing so unintentionally. For the most obvious example, she was the one who rescued Ifrit and then brought her to Silence to be treated. This, of course, led to a series of events which would eventually cause Saria to part ways from Rhine Labs. But she didn't stop cleaning up Rhine Labs' mistake. Just because she wasn't there anymore, there was hundreds of mistakes to clean up. In Dorothy's vision, she told Mulesies she had been to hundreds of labs similar to the one they found Ifrit in. We also see her in Mansfield Break infiltrate the prison as a prison officer in order to break Mountain out due to the fact that a Rhine Labs section had gotten him arrested, which she didn't need to do, but because she felt it was her duty to fix the mistakes of Rhine Labs, she did it. This also leads into her motivations for being in Trimounts during the events of Dorothy's vision, where she finally fully breaks ties with Rhine Labs. However, considering the type of person we've seen her to be, this isn't the end of her meddling in the affairs of Rhine Labs, that's for sure. And with that being said, the most important aspect of Saria's character is, of course, her relationship with Ifrit and Silence. Now, obviously, one of the big ships in the fandom is Saria and Silence, and that's for good reason. It's well founded that they are very close to each other in the lore, at least prior to the events of the Diabolic Crisis. And of course, Saria not only rescued Ifrit, but also was the one who first convinced her to take her medicine. She also gave Ifrit sweets over the course of her experiments because they made Ifrit happy. And she spent many, many days with Ifrit over the course of those experiments, even though at some points she was completely exhausted and simply fell asleep by Ifrit. As she cared deeply for both Ifrit and Silence, she did this. And when Silence's failed attempt to sedate Ifrit is brought up to her by Kristen during their confrontation at the end of the Diabolic Crisis, Saria takes the blame for it, even though I'm sure everyone involved knew it wasn't her. Although none would question her because it's Saria. And she even threatens Kristen by saying at the end of their conversation that she would never allow anyone from Rhine Labs to lay a hand on Ifrit again. And I'm sure Kristen knew that that was not an empty threat. So that's kind of rundown on her character. And because I want this to be a kind of complete video, just a little blurb on her actual unit. Saria is a 6-star Guardian Defender, so she has some pretty simple skills for the most part. Skill 1 is a standard Guardian Defender heal that heals in the tiles around her. Her skill 2 is a little bit more unique, being an AoE heal with a pretty respectable range. And her third skill, which is extremely useful, is Calcification, which lowers the ult resistance of every enemy within its range, as well as slowing their movements. And this is an ability that I've greatly benefited from myself, as when I first beat Patriot, I used this in a combination with Soda to overcome his first phase. And that's about it. Saria, in my opinion, awesome unit, awesome character, and despite my ramblings, I'm sure in the future more Rhine Labs content will come out, and hopefully it will continue on the story of Saria. Personally, I'm looking forward to seeing her and Silence reconcile at some stage, but that's probably a few events away, if it ever happens. And that's about it. If you made it to the end of the video, I hope you have a good day. Be good people. I'll see you next time.